All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else, and today we are going to talk about Diamons Victory. Now, I've seen this in a couple different places, posted either on YouTube or in my Discord, or just friends. You know, I do have friends. I know. If you don't want to believe me, that's fine. But a lot of people have been talking about Diamons Victory and how powerful it is, and I've seen a lot of comments about how it's really strong, it's really, really good, and I've seen comments about how it's OP and it's going to get nerfed, and I don't see it. I don't see why it should get nerfed, and yeah, that's what this video is. We're going to talk about the set, we're going to talk about its pros, we're going to talk about its cons, and hopefully, like, I don't miss something, and if I do, you guys can point it out where I'm wrong. And I'm going to show you guys why I think the set's just fine the way it is, and honestly, in my opinion, it could probably use a couple of buffs. So yeah, let's dive into the video. So Diamons Victory, for those of you guys that don't know, is a new crafted set in the Blackwood DLC. 2-piece weapon and spell damage, 3-piece critical chance, 4-piece weapon and spell damage, 5-piece while in combat using an ability with a range of 7 meters or less grants you range supremacy for 5 seconds, adding 437 weapon and spell damage to your damage over time and range attacks. While in combat using an ability with a range of over 7 meters grants you melee supremacy for 5 seconds, adding 437 weapon spell damage to your melee attacks. So this is a very unique and interesting set. So long story short, if you guys look at my bar on the bottom, if I fire a bow from range, it will proc melee supremacy, which you see on the lower right. That's cooling down to 1 and 0. That's melee supremacy. If I go to the front bar and I cast my rally, I have range supremacy. Now this, you see the glow on my arms. That is knowing that the set is casting. So, do we have a long cooldown on this or something? Oh, do I have to be in combat? Yeah. So you see the glow on my arms. So that's melee supremacy is when that's range supremacy. When I cast a melee attack, it gives me range. When I cast range, it gives me melee. So if I attack from the bow, there's my melee supremacy, which is that orange glow. So, it is very nice to proc. Now the cool part about this set is you can proc it on the front bar or back bar. You can double bar it, so it has some versatility. The other cool part about this set is it is crafted, so you don't have to farm it. A lot of PvPers really enjoy the fact that you don't have to farm something, so that's always a good time. Yeah, so there's a lot of pros in that regard. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare it to another very popular, easy to get set like Spriggans. Now, a lot of people are going to ask, they're going to go, Else, why are you comparing it to Spriggans? Spriggans isn't even best in slot right now. I agree, and that's my point. I want to compare it to a decent, solid, but not great set. I want to show you guys what I'm talking about here so that you guys can see the comparison and you can go, okay, well, if it's not definitively better than this, is it really overtuned? So that's where we're coming from here. So we're gonna compare it to Spriggans. Spriggans is still solid set. It can be front barred, it can be double barred. Max stamina, weapon damage, and physical penetration. Now, if we compare the damage that we can get to both these things, we're going to see, you know, the differences here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buff up with rally only. I'm going to buff up with rally only. I'm going to light attack for the melee supremacy. When I get my melee supremacy, I'm going to go in and I'm going to cloak and hit my surprise attack so we get the guaranteed crit surprise attack. The other thing I could do also is I can drop this, which also gives me melee supremacy. So either one of those things I'm going to do. I'm going to get that. I'm going to get the guaranteed crit. We're going to see what attacks we have with Diamons Victory, and then we're going to take Diamons Victory off, and we're going to hit with Spriggans, and we're going to see the difference. Now, as far as the other stuff goes, it's going to stay static. This is all going to stay the exact same. So if you guys say, well, that's not an actual build, fine. Like, we're trying to compare these two other sets, so this stuff is going to stay the same. So I got 5-piece hulking, 1 Balorg, 1 Arm Cop of the Red Mountain, because, you know, we're special. We can even take this out. We can put Domi House on, whatever. There we go, 2 1 pieces. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to see what numbers we have. So buff up with the rally. There's our melee supremacy, 16,396. Now keep that in mind. We got 16,396 with our melee supremacy buffed. Now, the reason we're showing this on a test dummy is honestly, Spriggans gets better and better the higher resistances people have. Now, I know a lot of people are complaining that everybody's running a Pariah. These test dummies only have 18,000 resistances. So if Spriggans is better against a test dummy with 18,000 resistances, Spriggans is going to be better versus somebody with 30, 40, 50k resistances, because the pen is going to be even more valuable. And so that's why we're showing this. We're showing that even in the best case scenario, it's not as good. And so 16,396, 16,792. So Spriggans, as far as a flat damage set goes, is still better, more damage in PvP than Diamond's Victory is in this situation. Now, it's not all bad, guys. Like, it's not, I'm not saying this is a bad set, but what I'm trying to say is Spriggans isn't meta. Like, Spriggans isn't super popular, and it doesn't even match up to Spriggans as far as flat value goes. Now, the other thing to keep in mind too about Diamond's Victory, and why I wanted to compare it versus Spriggans also, is it gives you weapon and spell damage to your damage over time and ranged attacks, or your melee attacks. So this weapon and spell damage does not boost your healing. So although you get this to your sets, you get this to your skills and abilities, but you do not get it to healing. In the same way that Spriggan's Pen does not give you healing, this weapon and spell damage does not give you healing. So sets like Swamp Raider, you know, it's 600 weapon damage to your poison abilities. This functions in the same way. It will not boost your healing. And so you're looking at this as a unique specialty set. And so although the 437 weapon damage is nice, although it is giving you a decent amount and the uptime is fantastic, you know, like it's been shown here, it's not as much damage as other sets. It's not as high bursty damage as Clever Alchemist. It's a little bit more weapon damage than something like Powerful Assault, a little bit less than Briarheart, but with a better uptime. You know, you can have better uptime than Briarheart with this. And then if you go over to mag specs, you know, you can compare it to a set like Burning Spellweave. Burning Spellweave gives similar weapon and spell damage with a burning status effect. And so when I'm looking at this, I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying it's bad. It's crafted. It's a unique set. It's nice, but sets like Burning Spellweave also can be front or back barred. They can also boost your healing, and they give the burning status effect on top of all of this. So in those ways, I don't think this set's overtuned. I don't think this set's overtuned in the slightest. There's sets that give more, that boost more to your overall offensive and defensive capabilities. Now, where I see this set potentially being really good is when we start talking about if we want to buff procs. And even then, there's other sets that give weapon and spell damage. This gives higher uptime. But if we want to compare, for example, like we want to get a proc, so we're going to use Venomous, and we're going to compare the Venomous damage with Spriggans versus the Venomous damage with Diamond's Victory, and we're going to see the differences there. So once again, buff up with Rally, we're going to Cloak, and we're going to hit with our Surprise Attack, and you're going to see we're going to get 3519 ticks. So 3519 ticks, which is not bad. Now we got to wait till we get out of combat before we can do this again. Waiting. So just remember that 3519 number. Still waiting. Well, I hope you guys had a good weekend. I am recording this on Father's Day, and so I wanted to get this video out there. Wife was kind enough to give me some time away, and so I decided to step away to make a video real quick. So, yeah, I hope you guys had a good weekend. Please tell me in the comment section what you guys decided to do, whether you got a good dinner or whatever. So, yeah, so now we have this. We're going to buff with Rally. We're going to get our Melee Supremacy. We're going to compare it. So we have 3175, 2956. There you go, 3692. 3692 with Melee Supremacy up, if you guys saw that. So when we go into our combat metrics and we look at it, yeah, as we get higher, Spriggan's Pen is going to be more valuable, but you can make a case for using a set like Diamond's Victory if you're using another proc set and you want to be able to utilize that. Hold on one second. So if we look at this, 3692 was the high end, 3519. So in my opinion, I still think you're better off going, like, I still think the Spriggan's pen is going to be more valuable with the tankier individuals, but at least you can kind of make a case for Diamond's Victory in that regard. So overall, in summation, when we're done talking about this set, it's a solid set. The value is that it's crafted. There's immense value in being able to not have to farm and just get something and get up and running right away. But it doesn't buff your healing like Powerful Assault or Briarheart, Clever Alchemist, or Burning Spellweave or something like that. It does buff your damage, but your damage isn't as high as these pen sets that are solid, and they're other good cheap starting sets in general. And so when you look at it, it's like they may have a niche with like proc sets, but even then, like versus a higher resistance individual, I think it's going to be close. So yeah, in my opinion, this set's solid. It's a good set, but it's not going to change my builds. I'm not going to go out of my way in general in most situations to run it because, yeah, sets that boost my healing or sets that do, like if I'm going to specialize, I want a set that does the most amount of damage or the set that gives me a good combination of damage and healing instead of something that gives me kind of this no healing but not as much damage, if that makes any sense. So yeah, if I'm going to lean one way or another, I personally would go other sets over Diamond's Victory. Like I looked at this set and I was like, it's okay. I mean, it's crafted. The more good crafted sets is a good thing, but I'm not very impressed. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, please provide in the section below. If I missed something, guys, I am not an expert on this set, okay? I tested it, I ran it for a little bit. Maybe there's something I missed. Maybe there's some glaring thing that I missed and you guys can point it out and you can let me know. And I can go, you know what, I was wrong about this video and I'll take it down like I have in the past. But yeah, I don't think the set should be nerfed. I know a lot of people like to come into my comment section and say I always call for nerfs. I call it like I see it. You know, spade is a spade. If I think it needs to be adjusted, I say it needs to be adjusted. If I think it's fine as it is, I think it's fine as it is. I say this set could get another 100 to 200 weapon damage. Still not buffing your healing. It would make it more competitive. Yeah, the proc chance is great. Like, yeah, the uptime is great, but it's not as good as other sets. It's definitely not as good as Titanborn. It's definitely not as good as Spriggan's, and there's better sets than those. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.